And as promised, joining us on the show here today is Kelvin. What's up, man? Hey, thanks for joining us on the show here on a Sunday morning, first of all. Sunday afternoon lah.
Afternoon, third of the day gone already.
That is true. Well, for some people, they might have just woken up, so.
Or if you're listening to this podcast on a lunchtime on the workday, you're probably just going up for work and you want to listen to Kelvin share about his Scottish adventures. Yeah, bro?
Absolutely. Of course, Kelvin, from Grapplemax, you had a little bit of an excursion to, is it Glasgow, Scotland, or is it different parts of Scotland?
Glasgow, Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, first of all, explain to us, how did this trip even start to begin with?
Okay, so the genesis of this idea, I need to take you all the way back into like October 2023.
Oh, okay.
So, as you guys know, I'm a NTU student.
Yes.
Yeah, that one's not a gimmick. That one's I'm an actual student.
The buffest NTU student I've seen in a long time, bro.
Thank you. So, I received an email advertising a sharing session with the Glasgow University about their exchange program for Singaporean students. So, I mean, I was already naturally intrigued on going on exchange, so I just went for the hearing session. Then it just talked about, the student life in like Glasgow University and Glasgow itself and whatnot. But the thing is, when I heard the word Glasgow, the first thing that immediately came to my mind was, hey, Drew McIntyre from Glasgow, right? Then what I did was like, I did a bit of like Googling, and that's how I I learned more about, ICW, Insane Championship Wrestling, which was where Drew kind of like went to when he was initially released after around 2014. So yeah, I just did a bit of research on ICW, and specifically I researched if they had a training school, because in October 2023 I was still only like 3 months into my pro wrestling journey.
Right.
So as much as going on exchange would have been fun, I also didn't want to like sacrifice my development as a pro wrestler. So it's kind of like killing two birds with one stone. And yeah, that's how I also came across GPWA, Glasgow Pro Wrestling Asylum, which is their training school in ICW. And I was like, okay, it's cool. If I could actually like pull this off, it would be quite nice, because the exchange application process isn't so straightforward. So I kind of just like kept it in the back of my mind. And then slowly, as the year progressed in 2024, it became more likely that I could go on exchange in Glasgow. It's a different university, but still in Glasgow. So I did did more research to just check that they still existed, and like they had like a program for like international wrestlers to come in and train with them. So once I got the confirmation that I got my confirmation on my exchange program in Glasgow, that's when I kind of just like kept tabs on them leading up to September of last year, which would have been when I flew to Glasgow.
So question, which were you looking forward to more, the wrestling or the actual school exchange program? Be honest now.
Yes. Okay. To be honest, like,
should we leave it as that?
Yeah. Most university students, like, going on exchange is kind of like the dream, but like I said, I didn't want to sacrifice like 4 months of my pro wrestling development, because I was still quite new, and it's like a crucial period where I do need to like keep training regularly, to like take it to the next level. So let's just say it's everything was quite serendipitous, shall we say?
Yes.
And another interesting thing is, I want to kind of understand the thought process, or like the reactions that you got from like not just your classmates, I'm pretty sure, probably your lecturers, and especially the Grapplemax fam as well. Like, what was their reaction when you told them the news?
So I always wanted to keep it like conservative, because like I never take anything as granted or as a given, because there were so many different factors to like consider, like whether I would even be allowed to train with them, or second of all, whether there would be an opportunity to perform. So I always just kept it in my mind to like, take it step by step. Don't, as much as it's fun to fantasize about, the possibilities, I just like, stay calm, stay humble, and just like take it one step at a time. Just focus on training, and then just focus on, really just take it one step at a time. Yeah.
I really love, by the way, how like humble and like proper schoolboy this Kelvin is right now with us, right? But in the ring last time when he was hanging around with Showtime, all like he's like pointing at the ass, like, yeah, look at me, like it's a very different side of you, my friend.
Well, I think that's the beauty of pro wrestling, right?
Mhm.
Like it's sort of like an escape for you guys. Like for others, like obviously in real life you can't be like a beer drinking, like ass kicking, like SOB lah. But pro wrestling
Well,
Well,
provides that.
you can if you want. I
You
mean,
yeah,
shouldn't. You
you,
shouldn't.
you might go
You shouldn't.
jail, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So like yeah, I mean like pro wrestling is that like creative like medium for you guys to like express yourself in a more exaggerated manner. So yeah, I think that's why you see a much different side of Kelvin, because
Mm.
a lot of my friends do tell me that, especially with like my spectacles, right? I look very nerdish. I look like a geek, right? Which
Yeah.
which I do. I don't deny that. But once like the specs come off, the shirt comes off, yeah, I totally like transform into like a whole different person.
I love it, bro. It's like Peter Parker turning to Spider-Man. I also wanted to kind of stay on that Glasgow kind of
Mm.
adventure that you guys had, right? Like, so
Yeah.
walk us through like that first day. Like, you're in Glasgow. You're going for classes, and then tell me
Mm.
that first impression when you walk into the asylum, and like, yeah, what was like, how was the reception there for you as well?
Ooh. Okay, so I remember I flew into Glasgow specifically on September 18th. And so I landed in Glasgow airport at around like 1 p.m. Then, like an absolute genius, I booked my first training session on the same day.
Oh, of course.
Yes, and not
Bro,
not very advisable, but yeah. So
bro, the
I
concept of jet lag didn't exist to you, is it? You didn't know, is
no,
it?
it didn't. My idea was like I would get rid of the jet lag by sleeping on the plane,
Ah,
which I did, but still
it's
not advisable.
yeah.
But yeah.
It's-
Anyways,
plain
so from
sleep
that,
isn't real sleep.
it's really not.
Yeah.
So from the airport, I went to my university dorm, settled all the admin stuff, settled on my barang. Then the very others the other very serendipitous thing was that my university that I did my exchange at, which is Strathclyde University, is literally a 10-minute walk away from the training facility
Oh,
with the asylum.
nice. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. It was
Awesome.
like damn convenient.
Mhm.
So just dropped my barang, like did a bit of a shower, and then I just grabbed my training gear and then walked 10 minutes towards the asylum. So the first time I stepped into the asylum, I was honestly quite nervous. Like,
Mm.
it's not just a pro wrestling thing, but it's honestly just a life thing. Whenever you go
Sure.
into a new place, a new environment, you're always a bit cautious and a bit anxious whether you would fit in, whether they'll be receptive towards you.
Of course, yeah.
But within the first day, like they kind of like took me in and treated me like one of them. Like there was
Oh.
no like treating me like an outsider. From the very first day they treated me like one of
Wow.
them. And it's they showed me a level of warmth and hospitality that I'll always be very grateful for.
Mm.
Yeah. So during the first training session, so peeling back the curtain, in training sessions for wrestling, you always do like the rolls first. So it's
Yep.
part of like the syllabus. And we're just doing the rolls, simple stuff. And then they started doing head springs.
Oh,
So for those who don't know, head springs are like when you do a headstand, right?
yeah.
Into a kip up.
Yep.
So yeah, they already started doing like very advanced level like gymnastics and rolls. I was like, holy. Yeah. So
And
it's
that's
just
like
like
a fundamental class. That's something that all of them can do, is it?
not say all, but like it's something that is part of like their syllabus. But yeah, a
Mm.
good number of them could do. I was
Okay.
just like, holy, okay. So
Okay,
yeah,
keep
and
ups.
obviously like I couldn't, it's not my thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
doing keep up. So like they kind of like walk me through like the process.
Mm.
Jump forward a bit. It took me like 3 months to get it, but yeah, it's stuff like that. In their when I got exposed to like their training style, their training syllabus, where it really showed like there are levels to this. Like
Mm.
the standard there is truly like a step above, a level above. The word
Mm.
I would definitely use to describe it is world class.
Hmm.
Yeah, just the standard of wrestling. Frankly, everything in terms of like resources, production, just how seriously they treat it is really a step above.
So just to go back a little bit, right? So when you're talking to them and you're signing up, telling them, oh, I want to come down and train, that kind of stuff, right? Do they sort of look at you and go, okay, do they ask like, okay, where is your level at? Do they ask you to give an accurate or honest self-assessment, or do they test you first to see, okay, does this guy really live up to what he said? You know, how does that whole process work?
So what my initial point of contact with them was in August
Mm.
of last year. So I just shot them a DM and then an email. Then I just introduced myself, like who I am. I'm a pro wrestler from Singapore. I'm going to Glasgow for a semester exchange. I would like to continue my training with them.
Mm.
And I gave them like my Instagram handle.
Mm.
Then they were like, yeah, cool. This is how much is the monthly fee.
Oh, okay.
And they did ask me if I had match experience. Then I just told them I've had a couple of matches. Yeah.
Yep.
So they're very conscious that I don't want to like oversell myself.
Right.
Just give an accurate, like you say, an honest and accurate representation of my current skill level.
Yep.
And then then I just went for like the first training session, and then we just took it from there.
So, like when you went there, did you have the goal or idea in your mind that you would actually want to participate in a match or be in a match?
So the system in the Asylum GPWA is that they have student showcase shows called £5 wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the name. Each ticket is £5 only. They hold one about once every 3 months.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah. They already had a very dedicated system and space for students to perform.
So it's very similar to like the NWE style of what Grapplemax is doing, right?
Similar.
Yeah. Right.
So that was kind of like the show that I like had my eye on.
Oh, cool.
So, but I again take it one step at a time. Just go for a first training session, allow them to have a sense of me, and let me have a sense of them before we talk about anything beyond that.
Yes.
What does ICW like pride themselves on being like? I mean, I'm sure certain promotions have specific style. If you could kind of describe like Scottish wrestling and specifically ICW, GPWA, what's the takeaway that you get?
I'm glad you didn't say use skill in one word, because I can use multiple words.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
As the name suggests, Insane Championship Wrestling. Insane. They specialize in hardcore death matches.
Whoa.
So,
okay.
Yes. So yeah, you'll see like a lot of like insane weapons like jumper cables, diaphragms. Then there's the usual like thumbtack, steel chair, kendo stick.
Right.
the whole shebang. But
Oh, wow.
yes, yeah. You guys can go see for yourself on YouTube and social media. They like to draw a wee bit of blood sometimes.
Ooh. Just a wee bit.
Just a wee bit.
Just a wee
Just
bit.
a wee bit. Yeah. So, but honestly, hardcore matches aside, the level of wrestling there, like I said, is truly next level, truly world class. Like, not just in terms of like the technical aspect, but in terms of like character work, psychology. It's really next level. So,
and you even also mentioned, right, like a lot of the students get opportunities to put on the shows or matches in the £5 wrestling, right? How would you say is the level of the student, and then in terms of transitioning from that to being part of the ICW roster? Can you tell the differences even in that levels as well?
So from my understanding, their intake system is in terms of like they have an intake system. So it's not necessarily, if you're a beginner, you can't really like join as and when you please.
Right. So
there's a specific dedicated intake period for you guys to go through the various beginning stages of the pro wrestling syllabus. Then from my understanding, there's 3 blocks, and each block is about 8 weeks. If I'm not mistaken, it's a bit flexible, but yeah, that's the rough gauge. Right. So after that, then you kind of graduate to like the main class, where you do a bit more advanced techniques and sequences. Then you do your £5 wrestling debut. You have your first debut match. Then from then on, there isn't a very fixed or structured progression system. It's really just see if you're ready and see if there's a spot on the card. So it's a bit flexible in that regard.
Interesting. Another thing I wanted to ask as well is like, yes, you have all these, I'm sure, assumptions about like how Scottish wrestling is gonna be, things that you weren't unsure of. What were the other students or like wrestlers like first impressions about like you and of course like Singapore wrestling through what you shared with them?
That one might be a better question for them to ask, but from they will be the better judge. But from my understanding, I I think they were, again, trying to be humble here, but they were fairly impressed at the level that I was, especially for someone when at the time I was only like in my first year of pro wrestling. Uh,
Mm.
I think they were impressed by my fundamentals and basics. So, which is honestly just a testament to like the Grapplemax teaching methodology lah. So,
I was about to say shout out to the
especially
coaches
yeah,
at Grapplemax. Yeah.
of course, I honestly owe everything to them. Like Greg, Dennis, Sean, and Dave.
Mm.
Yep.
I think they were particularly impressed about with my crowd work.
Mm.
Like because
Engaging the audience, yeah.
yeah, in wrestling, because you don't wrestle in an isolated bubble, right? You do
Yep.
need to engage with the crowd, and I think they were impressed with that. Yeah.
So tell us about your first in-ring experience, like in a match, right? Did they decide for you, okay, we want you to work heel, babyface? Like, how does that whole process come about?
Okay, so it was within like the first two training sessions.
Mm.
Actually, during my first training session, I already had a practice match.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that was when they saw like the level that I was at.
Mm.
Then the second training session I had, they were discussing about the next 5-pound wrestling show.
Right.
They were like running down like the respective card at that time.
Mm.
And then one of the wrestlers like couldn't make it, and then it was like, damn it. So the guy in charge of the developmental system there is called Jack Jester, a legendary Scottish wrestler in his own right, specializes in death matches. He was like, damn it, when he heard like one of the wrestlers like couldn't make it. Then he slowly like turned to me and I was like, Kelvin, do you have gear? And I was like, okay. Then I was like, I stood up because honestly, my gear, as you guys saw, is just that Nike black shorts, right? And then
Yeah.
like the knee pads and the boots, which served its function in my intern gimmick in Singapore.
Mm.
But it's not very, it's definitely not adequate for like the levels that I needed to be at to perform over there.
Yeah.
Then he was like, if you can get gear, I might book you like on the card. That was like, awesome, because like I wanted to like take like the first week to like settle in and adapt to their style first before I go up to like the booker and like, hi, can I have a match?
They're like, nope, deep end. There you go, you're ready.
Absolutely.
Wait,
yeah.
how long was that before this happened?
So this specific interaction would have been like towards the end of September, as early as that. Yeah.
About 2-3
So
weeks.
I spent, so like then after that I spent like the next 2 weeks looking for gear. Because one of the suggestions was that I could like borrow gear from someone. But then I went on Amazon to look up like pro wrestling gear, pro wrestling tights. Then I came across this like MMA compression tights from an Amazon page. And I was like, okay, yeah, that looks like something that could work for me. And specifically, they had this the Chinese lion dance design, but in a more modern style. And my thinking was I wanted my ring attire to sort of like reflect a bit of that Asian vibes. So I specifically bought that one. And then when it arrived, like around 2 weeks later, when I wore it for training, like casually, I like didn't really like announce it. We were like warming up. Then Jack Jester looked at me. I was like, Kelvin, is that your gear? I was like, yeah, it is. And he was like, perfect for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, it looks damn cool. It looks like you came out of Shang-Chi, bro.
Yeah, very colorful, the orange aesthetic. And the one thing that Jester specifically said that I should get is a colorful gear. Because going back to the first few training sessions I had, when we were doing training matches, right? So for that one, they would split like the heels and the faces.
Yep.
Then he looked at me, I was like, Kelvin, do you work heel or face in Singapore? And I was like, heel. Then he looked at this like nerdish face, right? And I was like, nah, you can't be a heel here. then he was like, yeah, you work face instead. And I was like, awesome. So I kind of like unintentionally like turned face in like Glasgow.
Mm.
But yeah, as we'll talk about it later, I think it all worked out in the end. So yeah.
Nice, nice. Another thing I wanted to ask, with regards to the impressions about not just Singapore wrestling, what were the impressions of Singapore itself, and like what could you share to them about, or like I'm pretty sure none of them have been there, or
Yeah.
if there
Wait,
was, yeah,
were you the first Singaporean like trainee there?
Yes,
ever.
yes, I was. Yes, I am.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm
Yeah.
sure they have 1,000,001 questions. So like, what were some of
Okay.
the interesting questions that you actually fielded from them?
Yeah.
Okay, so they know Singapore exists,
Okay.
but maybe they're not too sure about like the specific characteristics of Singapore. I think, if I can jog my memory, I think though some of the things that stood out were like the Taylor Swift era's concert period. Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
I think that. I think they do know that Singapore is a very like modernized and urban concrete jungle, despite being in like a Southeast Asia kind of like territory. So I think they were aware of that. But in terms of like specific culture, I don't think they knew too much. And that was where I came in to like educate them.
Nice.
So yeah, I explained to them like what a BTO is and
Wow.
like the university system. Yeah.
Public housing to them.
Yes, yes.
Can you
Which is
imagine all
honestly,
this-
yeah, cause like foreign you've been to like Europe before, like high-rise residential buildings is not super common in Europe.
Yeah,
It's more of a Singapore and Asian thing.
Yeah. Because of land, like they have so much land, they don't need to build high, they can build wide, right?
Yeah. Then I told them like Singapore is like a very small and land scarce like island city state.
Interesting. I love
Stuff
it.
like
Nice.
that, yeah.
I like half in my mind, like, because you watch so much wrestling, especially in a certain era, like the 90s, right? Every time there's a foreigner, this one heel, foreign men is heel. So I'm like surprised. But then again, to your point too, like you're probably there with your glasses, you didn't do your hair. So they're like, hey, this fella, like literally
Oh,
the
boy.
definition of baby
A
face.
baby face. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about that match that you had. Who were you up against, and did you have the pre-match jitters like in a different level?
So if I could trouble you guys, could you guys switch screen and Google Lewis Gervin?
Lewis Gervin.
How do we spell it? I'm on IG
So-
right now.
So Lewis,
Mhm.
then GIRVAN.
Lewis
GIRPEN, Gerpen.
VAN.
Gervin.
Oh, VAN.
GIRVAN. Okay, hang on. Is this guy? Is this correct?
Yes.
Ah.
Yes, that's him.
Damn.
So,
Okay.
Lewis Gervin is a 14-year veteran in
wow.
the UK pro wrestling scene.
Right.
He has wrestled like legitimate superstars in like pro wrestling industry, the likes of like Big Damo, Ricochet, Malachi Black, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks.
Right.
So he has really like wrestled like the creme de la creme of like our industry.
Mm.
So it was about a month before the show where Jester told me that he would be pairing me up with Lewis Gervin because he wanted to pair me up with someone who's like a full-on heel. And then we were in the training session. He said, "Yeah, Kelvin, you're going to be paired up with Lewis Gervin." And I turned to my left and I looked up because he's a really, really tall guy. He's like he's like 188, that kind. Yeah.
Right.
Then I was like, yeah. So like, and he's that kind of, he's sort of like a locker room leader in like the Asylum. So like, and he's also like a world champion in like other promotions in Glasgow. So I was really paired up with someone of that elite caliber.
Yeah.
And then I was like, initially it was like a bit overwhelming because like I was only like my second year as a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
And then like I'm already like paired up with someone who's really gone on to like achieve a lot already, and I'm just like a relative like baby in this industry.
Right.
He
But
kind
then
of
of
look.
course, sorry.
He kind of looked like Nathan Fraser a bit.
A little,
Yeah.
Little bit.
Fraxium.
Yeah.
Love it.
I was trying to see either of you would mention that he looks a bit like Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, I actually think he looks more like
A
Drew.
bit,
It's
a
the
bit.
long
Yeah.
hair and
It's
the,
the young
Long hair, facial
mustache.
hair.
Do they all look like that in Scotland? Is it
Walao,
like a style?
what a generalization that is.
Yeah, whoa.
No. It's impressive. They all look like Scottish warriors. Like they are building an army there.
He's he's an absolute killer, Lewis Gervin. And actually, I forgot to mention the one person I should have mentioned in this like litany of matches. He has also wrestled Drew McIntyre.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that
Yes.
makes sense then. There you go.
So yeah,
So yeah.
Being paired up with him, honestly, the initial feeling was honestly overwhelming. I was
Mm.
like, oh my god, I'm gonna wrestle like such a legendary wrestler, such a highly respected and world-renowned wrestler. But
Nice,
of course, that's actually to my benefit
Yes, of course.
because being paired up with someone of that skill level, he can
Yeah.
not say
Uh,
carry me, but like I know that I'm in good hands.
Yeah. I think also it makes sense from a decision perspective, right? Like you are literally the new guy there. They're like, all right, let's put somebody who's been there, done that, can walk him through if needed, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
did you have to like, sit down with Lewis and let's chit chat a bit first, talk about your styles? Or had you already like worked with each other during training?
We've worked a wee bit in training, but
Oh,
then,
there's the Scottish, a wee bit?
yes.
We've worked a wee bit, lad. There's the Scottishness coming out.
I may have not picked up the accent, but I have picked up a bit of the lingo.
A wee bit.
Just
Okay,
a wee
sorry,
bit.
go
I'm not
ahead.
ever gonna try talking the accent. So you're gonna kill me.
I also cannot, so I'm not going to try. But yeah, so when the decision was relayed to me, the information was relayed to me, we had our first like practice match.
Yep.
And prior to that match, we did discuss a bit of the kind of like character that I want to portray, what kind of style I want to wrestle, and then what complemented both of our wrestling style. Then we just worked out from there. We had a practice match which was pretty good, especially considering the fact we only had 5 minutes to plan. But after that, we didn't really have any other practice matches for another month. So I just kept on training, kept on brushing up on my wrestling skills. Then on the day itself, we did have to iterate from what our original plan was. But honestly, like I think it was a benefit that we didn't like plan too much, because on the show day itself there was a few like unscripted stuff that I think really added to like the match in terms of like the crowd interactions.
Tell us about the crowd. So obviously, you know what it's like in a Singapore crowd. Like this is your first time in a rowdy Scottish crowd, wrestling fans. Was it different? Was it the same? Tell us about the experience.
So it was a family-friendly show, 5-pound wrestling. So like kids were there with their families. So yeah, very much a family-friendly environment.
Right.
And I was honestly surprised by how well I was received and like the love that I got from like the Scottish crowd. Like from the moment my entrance music hit and I came out with like the Singapore flag, they really just like gave me a very infectious level of energy that I fed off from. And honestly,
even though they didn't know who you were,
they didn't.
Wow.
I did like do a bit of like promotional content on like my socials, but you don't always assume that people will watch it. So for like what I'm gonna say is like a mostly new viewer to me, they really took to me like really quickly.
That's cool.
And
that's very cool. Yeah.
Like and there's something I'll always be very grateful for, like the love like they showed. And it as a wrestler, like you always worry whether like the crowd will react to you. Like the one thing that wrestlers always worry about is, what if the crowd is like silent? Like what do I do? Then you always like panic. But I never had that sense of like anxiety or panic. Like it really just felt like a perfect combination.
Is it just a European vibe? Like, when we watch wrestling shows in Europe, they're just a bit more excitable, louder. Versus, us Singaporeans, we are very quiet. Like, if we don't know, we're like, who this fella? And then we don't really vocalize a lot, right?
Yeah, I think the Singapore audience specifically can take a bit longer to like warm up to.
Yeah.
But for the Scottish crowd, from my understanding, as long as in the case of like a face, right, you're being earnest, you're not trying to overdo it in a sense, you're not trying to be something that you're not, they will give you the energy that you need.
Nice. That's very cool.
Yeah. And I think in general, Scots have it's in their culture to show great hospitality, as they did, as the people in the asylum did on my ever since my first day stepping into the asylum.
Right.
Yeah.
So walk us through the match. Did Lewis come out and do the heel shtick just to rile up the crowd first? Like, how did that go down?
Yeah, honestly, like it was such a pleasure and honor working with Lewis. Like he really like did everything within his power as a heel to really get the crowd behind me and get the crowd to like boo him.
Yep.
Within his entrance, he was already like throwing like the ring crew like around.
Oh,
Yeah, like
wow.
kind of like roughing them out a little bit. And
Okay.
then yeah, because he's already like an established character. He is he does like diabolical stuff like in like the ICW like main show. So honestly, like we didn't really need to go to over exert effort in terms of like getting the crowd to get behind me and get
Yep.
them to boo him.
It was quite established already in
Yes,
the
yes.
dynamics lah.
Yeah.
I saw you. I mean, you were moving in fast and quick. In the match, I saw you kind of evading, doing your forward rolls and all that. Was it a case of him like trying to catch up with your speed and trying to grind you down? Is that how the match was laid out?
Yeah, so the style that I wanted to portray was athleticism
Mm.
because I'm someone that can like move around very quickly and very
Yes.
dynamically. So I wanted to like portray that. And trust me, by no means is Lewis slow. He can definitely keep up with me if like in a shoot sense. But yeah, so it was kind of like that David versus Goliath kind of like dynamic. So yeah, just trying to use my athleticism and agility to sort of like evade him.
Love it. Another thing I kind of like caught on to it was like, even though like the match might not have ended up the way you wanted, there was definitely like almost an acknowledgement, from Lewis at the end, like kind of giving you a bit of like your flowers or like acknowledging the effort that you put in. How was that moment like for you, and how did the crowd react to that? Because especially at the end, you put out your Singapore flag as well in the celebration.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I really fed off the energy of the crowd, and their energy level is definitely very infectious. I felt it. I like to think that Lewis felt it as well. And I received quite a lot of like comments and feedback about my performance in the match and how they enjoyed it and how they hope to see me in future, ICW and GPWA matches. So yeah, it's I also honestly quite taken aback by how well I was received because it's like you mentioned just now, like it's a bit of a twist on the typical dynamic on a foreigner coming into like the hometown. I was literally the foreign guy versus like the hometown guy, and
And you were
as much
the
as
shirt face, yeah.
yeah, so uh, a lot of love from the crowd, and the love is definitely reciprocal. I definitely reciprocate that love. And then when I went backstage, like everyone was like giving me hugs and then
Nice.
like giving me that acknowledgement about my performance, and yeah, it's definitely something that I'll forever cherish.
So you had that one match while you were there in your time. Do
Yeah.
you think that, you might, I don't know, make this a yearly thing, or like, what are the odds of you going back to have your second match and so on and so forth? Because, I
So
mean, it can't be that cheap lah, dude. It's still like a cost lah,
as in foreign
to
went to
fly.
UK last year, I'm sure you know how expensive plane tickets
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Give me a couple of years to like recover for that.
Save-
So like
save up.
I can imagine, right? Can imagine.
That is my response. Yeah, give me a couple of years to financially recover. But
Right.
on my end, there's definitely a desire to like head back to Scotland. And honestly, like I might even travel to like the other promotions as well, because it's not just ICW.
Yes.
There's also promotions like Power Pro and Iron Graders with their own like established talents over there with wealth of experience as well. So honestly, what the future holds, who knows? I mean, let my wallet recover first.
Yeah, I mean, can imagine. And there's something very interesting I wanted to note. I was just doing research on Louis Gervin, right? And we followed him on the Kick to the Guide profile, and he just followed us back. So if
Yes, awesome.
I'm pretty sure if when the podcast comes out and we like talking clips and about him, what would you say was like the best advice he gave you about wrestling? And imagine him personally listening to the podcast. What would you say back to him as well for your time there with him?
So, honestly, just a lot of gratitude to him and everyone at like the Asylum, like for showing me that love and hospitality. And in terms of advice, I think the best advice he gave me was like to kind of like be flexible in terms of the match structure.
Mhm.
The one thing he always kind of emphasized was not to be too rigid in following a certain structure, A, B, C, D, E, because you can never fully prepare and anticipate how the crowd might react. And as evidence in the
Agreed.
match, there were things that we did do that wasn't necessarily planned,
Mm.
but we did have that flexibility and that wit to react on the spot in terms of how the crowd was. So
Nice.
honestly, having that wit and flexibility.
Is there a video of the full match online somewhere?
There is footage. I have it on my phone. If you guys want, I can show you. I can send you guys the link.
Yeah. Please
Clips,
do it.
clips,
I
for
would
sure.
love to see. Okay, so now we focus on the quote-unquote short-term future. This upcoming weekend, as we broadcast this on a Monday afternoon, even though we're recording on a Sunday, you understand the time difference. But this upcoming weekend, it's Grapplemax's Causeway Jam 2025, and okay, you've done your stint in Scotland, you come back, and now suddenly you've had a change of heart. All that Showtime business you've put behind you. You're no longer the intern. You're your own man. Talk to us about returning and while leading up to this weekend's match. You yourself, you will have a international triple threat match. We'll very quickly preview some of the rest of it, but let's talk about your match first.
So first of all, just to clarify, you are right in saying that I don't really identify as an intern anymore, but I am still employed under Showtime Inc. currently. So just to get that out of the way first, but you are correct. Having that excursion to Glasgow, I've definitely and especially representing Singapore on such a global and international level, and the love that I've received, not just from Glasgow, but also from Singaporeans, sending me messages of like support, not just from Grapplemax, but wrestlers from also SPW, also sending me like support. It's something I'm definitely very grateful for. So coming back to Singapore, I have a newfound appreciation for what I do in the pro wrestling ring, and I've learned that I don't need to just wrestle for myself or one organization. I can wrestle for something bigger than myself, larger than myself. So yeah, there's definitely that change in mindset for me, for sure.
And talking back as well, the encounter that you had on Grapplemax Amplify, your, I would say, current teammate Julian had a match and kind of gave a very very bad post match beatdown on Mingray. What possessed you or inspired you to stand up, and kind of like protect Mingray and confront your teammate?
So just to take it back a bit, honestly, when I started out with pro wrestling, right, I had a lot of insecurities whether I could match up to people in Grapplemax, because my developmental process as a pro wrestler wasn't the smoothest. But having grinding it out in training on a week basis, and then traveling to Glasgow, Scotland, and matching up with world class talent in ICW, I realized that I can match up with people of that caliber. And knowing that, I know that I don't need to resort to backhanded dirty tactics that we used to resort to in Showtime Inc. So when I saw Julian, who is a very talented wrestler in his own right,
Yes.
being a sore loser and beating up Mingray after the match, I thought it was kind of like beneath us. So that's why I confronted him and just told him that there isn't a need to stoop to that level. We are already at a high level. We don't need to bring ourselves further down.
So would you say that your goal now is to change Showtime Inc. from within, or eventually break out, if that is even, a goal?
I would say that currently we're going through a lot of changes within our organization. Currently, Prabhu's injured. Showtime's handling other business operations, and well, you saw what happened to SPD, but that aside, so we're going through a lot of changes right now. So we definitely do need to regroup and then rediscuss like our focus for 2025.
But of course, the whole theme of this Causeway Jam, right, is the age-old feud. You know, there's US versus Canada, US versus Mexico. Here in this part of the world, it's Singapore versus Malaysia Causeway Jam. It's not just you versus Julian. You have the, additional spanner in the works, as it were, of from MyPW, Kaizul. Tell us a little bit more about Kaizul. What can we expect from him?
So Kaizul calls himself the international hitman, and I think that's for a very good reason. He is someone who likes to employ strikes, both with his hands and with his legs. So he has a very signature knee strike, kind of similar to like Kenny Omega's V trigger. So definitely want to avoid that. Keep my distance from Kaizul because when he hits hard.
Right. Okay, it's a triple threat. So statistically, you have a 33 and a third chance.
Of course you do. Of course.
The math don't lie.
The math. But Kelvin, tell us your math from your point of view. Why is it more than 33 and a third for you?
Well, for me, I try not to look at the numbers. I try to just look at what's ahead of me. And being booked in a featured matchup with Kaizul, like I said, one of the hardest hitters in MyPW and an established wrestler over there. And with Julian, so like I said, someone who's incredibly talented, and I have no trouble in saying someone who is criminally underrated. He is so clean and smooth in the ring in terms of the technical skills, and also someone who is very committed to his like character work and gimmick. Honestly, one of the best in our region, I dare say.
Agreed.
So being being featured, put in this like triple threat match. I'm honestly just looking forward to showing everyone like a new Kelvin, a Kelvin that's went on to ICW, wrestle about with world-class talent. And I'm just looking forward to showing what I've learned and what I bring to the table now.
Nice.
And when all is said and done, and you stand across the ring with Julian, are you guys willing to come to blows, to get the W? And will you guys still remain good terms after the match?
Will you shake hands, no matter who wins? Will you shake hands with Julian?
Oh yeah,
after
absolutely.
the match?
Like you said, like this is a match based on regional rivalry, Singapore versus Malaysia. But honestly, as a competitor, I just want to compete. I just want to wrestle. I definitely feel the regional rivalry, but honestly, I'm just a wrestler. I want to wrestle. Simple as that.
Okay.
One last thing I wanted to ask is about this match, right? So this is technically your first match back.
Correct.
I'm assuming that if you were to get the W, do you foresee you already our rising star for last year? You wrestle overseas. Is championship goal the next natural step?
I mean, there's always that famous saying, right? By like I think Stone Cold Steve Austin, if you're not in this to like win titles, then you shouldn't be in this at all.
Yes.
But for me, honestly, I just want to get better as a pro wrestler. That's like the first and foremost always. But also to like push boundaries and see what's on the horizon and see what new grounds I can venture to. Like being like the first Singaporean to not only train but also to wrestle in Scotland, honestly, I'm already creating like a mini legacy for myself. I'm already doing stuff that no one else is doing. So I honestly just want to keep on doing that. And if championship aspirations is what's next, then by all means, I definitely wouldn't say I'm a very competitive guy, so I definitely wouldn't say no to like championship aspirations. But I honestly just want to focus. I just want to focus on being a better wrestler and expanding my pro wrestling resume and portfolio.
I can 100% see why they thought this fella like baby face lah. No need to make him heel lah. Like look at him, look, he's so earnest. You know what I'm saying?
Until he steps into the ring.
Until he steps into the ring. Yeah,
we can't even talk about the abs yet, bro.
Once the shirt comes off, like there's no holds barred.
Very good, very good. Okay, come, let's preview the rest of the card. Once again, it's happening on Saturday. Are there any more tickets available? or is it
tickets are very
very
limited,
limited,
right?
right?
There's
Okay.
only like a very handful, so
Right.
quickly get your tickets before they sell out.
Go to Grapplemax's Instagram page, their social media page to find out the links. There's a PTX link,
Yeah,
if I'm not
PTX, yep.
mistaken. Okay, let's talk about the international tag team match. Fennec Rose and Shawal. Okay, who are these two? Please explain to me from MyPW if you
Oh.
can.
If you haven't seen them, you are gonna love it. They
Ah.
are so they have a very flamboyant, extravagant like presentation, especially in terms of like their entrances. So
I saw
Phoenix
an
Rose,
Instagram
yes.
video. One of them, they were in some park where it was pink everywhere. Where is this place? Yeah, they film. I also want to know.
That one you need to ask them. But from what I've seen and what I know, Phoenix Rose always comes out to the ring in a very striking pink, so like flamingo pink, like outfit with like the pink scarves, and then he also has this pink wings, I think. So yeah, it's honestly a very big and extravagant presentation. It's honestly caught the attention of everyone in the Grapplemax locker room, and
Right.
we're just looking forward to seeing it on the day, and the audience should be as well. Yeah, it's something I think will be quite unforgettable.
Hang on, I'm going to show you right now
let's
that
try
the
to see if I
video
can see it as well.
I was talking about. Hang on.
No, I know the promo you're referring to.
Yeah. So you see the dude's in the pink shirt, right? But look at the background.
Yes.
How is it all pink on the? Where is this place? I need to know.
That one you will have to ask.
Oh
Phoenix
my
Rose and
gosh.
Shawal themselves.
Like, where is
Oh,
this
yeah,
place
no.
they filmed? Yeah.
That one must ask them.
Very cool. But yeah, so this is
yes.
sort of a taste of what to expect from them character-wise, lah. You know.
Not sure if you can see on my phone, but
Oh yes, very flamboyant,
yes,
indeed.
very flamboyant indeed.
Which is the perfect juxtaposition against a team who are, let's face it, lah, quite serious, badass. One's like, more of a shooter type, and then another one is a high flyer, both very serious people. First of all, we got Simon Xia, and we got Lavin, who hopefully this time around will get more than 14 seconds of action.
Yeah, we hope so. We hope so.
We hope so.
Tell us what you think we can expect from this match.
So as you guys know, Simon is our resident high flyer in Grapplemax. Don't let the diminutive size like deceive you. He can hit and strike as hard as anyone. I've taken a couple of his like rising knee strikes to my chin myself, so I would know. So yeah, do not underestimate Simon. And honestly, like Simon's kind of like one of the more underrated wrestlers in Grapplemax.
Yep.
Like anyone who has worked with him will attest he's a fantastic worker, very smooth, very buttery in the ring, very pleasant to like work with as well. And as you guys know, he always travels across the Causeway itself to come to train at Grapplemax. So honestly, his dedication to the craft is something anyone would admire and respect. Then for Lavin, as you guys know, he's went to Tokyo.
Yep.
Is it Tokyo? Yeah, he went to Japan to train as well. So
he's basically living he's living the full on like in wrestler lives. He quit his job, he went there, he's training full time. Like, wow, kudos to him.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, we both actually went to our respective international countries like around the same time last year. So yeah, honestly, very much respect to him as well for taking that very huge step in upping his pro wrestling game. So as you guys know, Lavin's more of a submission and ground-based grappler. It's in the name himself, in Grapplemax. So honestly, he's living up to that namesake. So you can look forward to a lot of ground-based submissions from him for sure.
And of course, we know their history, right? Lavin and Simon, they were a team before, they fell out, but they're a team again. So is that going to play into it? Can they even work together? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see.
Let's talk about a guy. Well, I mean, you used to know him very well, then you kind of fell out, then you went away. Talking about SPD, he has a match against Miles Karu.
Do we have to talk about SPD?
I mean, we can very quickly talk about what you expect from this match. Because, okay, we've seen Miles. We've been very impressed with Miles before. Obviously, we know what to expect from SPD. Kelvin's like trying to think, okay, how can I be PC and talk about this guy I have history with?
What I'll say about this, I'll say this about SPD. He is definitely one of the top wrestlers, not just in Grapplemax but in Singapore. You know, his in-ring skills, technical skills are all, you know, top level. His character work as well, honestly, top level as well. Like when you see him in the ring, it really feels like he's in a fight. It really feels like he really wants to beat up his opponent. And yeah, he's one of the most popular characters. Yeah, in Singapore as well. Like he always captivates the crowd. Crowd's always behind him chanting SPD, SPD, even though I don't know why myself, but yeah. He was even contending for championship gold last year. So no one, not even me, can dispute how good SPD is.
Yes.
I just have, let's just say, professional disagreements with him.
Okay.
Strictly professional. Yeah.
Okay, we can leave it at that. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I think I've mentioned enough about SPD.
I mean, you know, Roman Reigns, when he came back, much beloved, doesn't mean his beef with Cody Rhodes is over. You know what I mean? So
Exactly, and
completely
with
can understand.
yeah, there's history.
Look,
There's history
we-
there.
It's history, but to me, it's ancient history. Whatever disagreements or beef me and SPD had, I think we settled it last year at Fight Club 4. Sorry, no cure at the projector. And honestly, it's one of like it's a very memorable day for me because I think it was kind of like my breakout match last year. I really had a great showing. We don't talk about the result because that's the least important part of that match.
Of course.
But yeah. So yeah, having worked with SPD, I think Miles is I think you can look forward to a very feisty match for sure.
Talk about a very feisty match. I love that. It's a beautiful segue. We have from my PW Poppy, who once again, I'll remind you that time I talked about Poppy on my gaming stream, and suddenly everybody is like, "Oh, I'm a Grapplemax fan now." Jeez, you guys, stop it. But Poppy is going up against Divya.
Yes. So, like you mentioned, I think there's a general consensus that Poppy is physically attractive, but don't let that fool you. She is also a physical wrestler herself. She can definitely kick ass. I haven't really met with her in person, so I'll get the chance next week. But I've definitely caught glimpses of her training content on her social media.
Hey, young had to do that. Okay, anyway.
No, yeah, I'm just checking out Instagram is all.
That is the part of the Instagram I don't look at. What I look at is her training content because she always posts like stories and reels about her training progression, which is honestly something I can really respect and admire.
Right.
Yeah.
And also so don't forget as well, she almost had kind of like a brief confrontation with Div because they were a tag team, right? And one of the shows last year, in a mixed tag match. And that was where like we had like a tease of what was to come between the both of them, right?
Yes, it would have been Poppy and Wonderboy versus Hotshot and Divya, correct?
Yes, and that was such an excellent match. Well reviewed by everyone that watched that.
So yeah, for Poppy, don't let the pretty face fool you. She can definitely kick ass.
There you go.
And speaking of kicking ass, we need to talk about Divya.
Of course.
So ever since she's joined Grapplemax like last year, about February-ish, kind of. Yeah. Honestly, she's like shown us like the levels that there are like to this game. Like
agreed.
Whenever she's like in the ring performing, she really has that aura, as the kids like to say. Yeah, she really captivates the room, captures everyone's attention. She really has that sassiness, that personality. I've had my encounters with her before. Yeah, let's just say she's also one that can kick ass. In fact, she showed up the guys in the main event of the previous Amplify in January.
For sure. And, I was there.
And I think there isn't a need to caveat her as a female pro wrestler. I think she is just a pro wrestler, period, full stop, end of story. There is no perception whatsoever of her keeping up with us. If anything, the guys are trying to keep up with her.
Nice.
So yeah, absolute badass, absolute pleasure to have in our Grapplemax locker room. And yeah, very much looking forward to this match.
I have campaigned really, really hard for her, especially in that triple threat match. Actually, everyone was really rooting for her to win that number one contender. So don't be surprised if Grapplemax ever have a first female champion, Grapplemax heavyweight champion. Man,
Yeah.
she's perfect, you know.
Well,
Yeah,
it's open weight and open
if I
gender.
can reference, if I can reference ICW for a bit, they just had their Square Go match, which is their equivalent of the Royal Rumble,
Mm.
and they just had a female wrestler Rio win it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is absolutely, I see absolutely no reason why Divya cannot contend for a top championship in Grapplemax.
All right.
Love it.
Talking about championships, let's get down to the championship chatter. Grapplemax Tag Team Championships. Ships Ahoy! A team we have history with, yeah. Well, more like you, Foreign. Versus Aussie.
Oi, oi, oi.
Yes, talk about that. Ships Ahoy, a little bit of a different vibe. Technically, you were back already when they started sailing into dark waters. Metaphorically speaking.
I love it.
Also,
Were you?
anyways, I think the great thing about Ships Ahoy is that Christian and Sarah really complement each other
Yeah.
perfectly. They're really like peas in a pod. Like outside of wrestling, they have kind of like creative related jobs.
Yeah.
So I
correct.
think they have like the same mindset and mentality as well. I think that's also why they complement each other perfectly. So I just think that they're taking this like friendship chemistry a wee bit too far. Yeah.
Do you
And,
think?
and I would know as someone who's like, employed those dastardly tactics myself.
Sure.
But yeah, I think they're being a bit delusional now.
Oh, do you think they have a shot? I mean, Aussie,
Okay.
well-oiled team, well-loved, beloved team as well, firing on all cylinders.
Absolutely. I mean, if we're talking about well machines and chemistry, right, then we don't have to look further than, the Aussies.
Yep.
Like everyone, I think their history and backstory has been well documented. And honestly, I don't think there is a better representative for Grapplemax in terms of like a tag team sense. So yeah, if Ships Ahoy really want to dethrone our inaugural champions, they really need to make sure that their chemistry, is really firing on all cylinders.
Okay, so let's talk about the main event then. It's for the Grapplemax Openweight Championship. Wonder Boy versus Hot Shot. Okay. More than anything, we need to keep the championship in Singapore. That's the whole vibe of Causeway Jam. Anyway, right? Defend against the invaders, quote unquote. Talk to us about this. Is this Hot Shot's biggest challenge to date, you reckon?
For me, I always feel like Hot Shot's biggest challenge is always his next challenge, especially as a champion. Everyone's gunning for you. You can't always rest on your laurels. You can't be too fixated on the past, as you always have like a target on your back, and it's always the next threat that is your most dangerous. And as the ace of Grapplemax now, to me, when I joined Grapplemax in May 2023, he was always the ace to me as like one of the new generation wrestlers. So, and I think he's represented Grapplemax well as a wrestler, as our top champion, and coming up against Wonder Boy, who's, if I'm not mistaken, about a decade of a veteran. Yeah, and it's a very talented wrestler in his own right. I think Hot Shot, I hope he's preparing well. That's all I'll say. I hope he's preparing well, because Wonder Boy will definitely bring it to him.
And let's not forget, Miles is going to be in Wonder Boy's corner.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Always the X factor there, right?
I'm looking at the poster, very sneaky. The size just at the corner there.
There. He's right there. He's there. He's smiling
to
away.
Be fair, he has his own match with SPD, so
he might be out of action.
You think he can make it?
We'll see.
Yeah, technically, Greg and Remus, they're all around, so maybe they'll do the runoff.
As much as Miles will be in Wonder Boy's corner.
Yep.
With it being a home ground match, I think Hot Shot does have that home ground advantage with the Singapore crowd behind him. So no, I don't think Hot Shot's alone in this.
I expect
by no means is he alone.
Right. I expect the 3.5 chance. I expect the it's always fun. Like, it's always fun. This quote unquote imaginary rivalry. Let's put it that way.
But one last thing I wanted to ask as well about the championship match, with your personal opinion as well, Kelvin. What do you think of Hot Shot's run in general, And what is one thing that you would want to take away from him, and in terms of how he has
His
been
belt.
carrying
That's
the
what the
title?
one thing he wants to take away from him. His belt.
Yes, the belt physically, but like, you know, in terms of like lessons or like how he has been carrying himself as champion, what would you want to take away from that?
Well, like I said, I don't think there could have been a better representative for Grapplemax as the ace than Hotshot. I really respect like his dedication to like the craft and also trying to balance and juggle real life responsibilities. It's something that
Mm.
as a student trying to grapple with the responsibilities as a student, I honestly don't know
I
how
s-
he does it.
right.
So honestly, just a lot of respect to him and frankly anyone who is willing to juggle both being a pro wrestler and well a working Singaporean because
Yeah.
like the culture here can be tricky with like the work life balance. So
And he's been a champion for over a year, right? I mean, that
Mm.
shows the longevity. And I always go back to this story when I talk about Hotshot, right? I actually ran into him like literally in the middle of the night in Toa Payoh,
Yeah.
jogging by himself, because apparently he lives pretty near to my partner. So I was like, "Hey, Hotshot, what are you doing?" "Oh, yeah, bro, going for a jog." And I looked at the time; it was 11 p.m. on a weekday.
mm,
The
So I'm like,
hustle is
yeah,
real. Why do you
yeah,
think
he
there are so
doesn't just
many?
have the skills of a world champion; he has the work ethic of a world champion
Mm.
as well. And I think that is something that's rubbing off on everyone in the Grapplemax locker room. And he really is the ace that everyone's trying to keep up with.
Do you see yourself as the ace one day? Is that the goal, or is that something that you don't think about?
So as a wrestler, I just try to focus on the wrestling.
Mm.
Any byproducts like accolades, awards, whatever, honestly to me it's just a bonus. I let my wrestling do the talking.
Mm.
I love it.
There you go. There's your Causeway Jam preview. Once again, if you haven't gotten your tickets, there might be a few left. Go to PTix, go to Grapplemax's Instagram or social media accounts and see if you can get some tickets. We want to see you there. It's going to be a lot of fun this
I want to see
upcoming
you there as well.
Saturday. Yes.
I will be there. I'll try my best, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see Kelvin's return.
Yes.
First match back, and should be a good time. So all
Absolutely.
you local wrestling fans,
217 days, every single night I've been thinking about this day. So trust me, you don't want to miss it.
Let's go. Kelvin, thank you so much for taking out time to chat with us here on a Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. Please get back to whatever it is you were doing, probably doing 10,000 more sit-ups to get that, the abs to pop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
gotta look good for the show.
before you leave, right? Since very inspirational, swole fella, right? Can you give us some fitness advice that you
Well-
would give to a fellow student who's trying to get his life together, his body together, or like working professionals like us who definitely need to get our body together? What advice would you give to get people to start being active?
My first advice would be ask someone more qualified like Dave, who is an actual fitness trainer.
Okay.
But for me, my advice always is to don't be afraid to take the first step because it's always that first step that's always the hardest, getting over that initial inertia. But to me, as long as you can get over that first step and start that habit building process, it's I think that's when I feel like everything will fall into place. Cause it's always that leap of faith that you do need to take if you really want to see like actual change in like your life.
And are you working out like every day? Seems
No,
like
no,
it.
no, no,
Based on
no,
your
no, no.
socials.
I'm actually not that big. I only weigh like 70 kg.
No, but you are ripped though. That's that's what it is.
I try my best. I try my
Hey.
best. I only work out like twice a week.
Twice a week? Wait, so okay.
Come
Now I need
on.
to know your diet. Is it you are very
what-
clean? You eat very clean,
What
is
is
it?
the food secret, bro? Tell us.
Like chicken breast and broccoli?
Oh my god.
Or is it the metabolism of youth?
Okay, to be fair, in terms of diet, it's just depending on my mom's cooking. But
Okay.
Hey,
the
home
mom is
cooked
the
food is
personal
healthy.
chef, bro. Yeah.
Ah.
mom's food hits different. But honestly, like you don't gotta worry about whether you're training once, twice, 3 times a week. You just gotta take that first step and start building the habit and have the discipline to maintain that habit. Because like a lot of people, they kind of like don't keep up, and I think that's also another
true.
barrier. So
Yes.
really, just take the first step and have the discipline to keep maintaining.
There you go. Kelvin, once again, thank you so much for your time. We will see you this Saturday and all the best, of course, in your match.
Thank you for having me.